Well, it's been a while since I made the last part of this video, even though it's all coming out as one video, so I'm not sure I remember exactly how I got where I got, but it is the combat and then blitz phase for the Axis, and the Axis are allowed to initiate up to 5 combats. There are certainly 4 that they want to do. They're going to try for Leningrad, they're going to try for Tula, and then after Tula in the blitz phase, it looks like they're going to have a pretty strong attack against Moscow, and they're going to try for this city that I can't pronounce very well, and they're going to try for Odessa here. These all look like very strong attacks, but they might not be. This attack is in very good defensive terrain, and 3 of the 4 Axis units are coming across a river, so it's not going to be a particularly strong attack. If I had thought it through, I may have based this air unit in Kiev and had it available, but this is against a disorganized unit, so this air unit probably doesn't have to come here. There is an air unit that can be part of this attack, and then this can be a 2-step air unit in this attack instead of the single-step finish. Now, there is the question of, would it make sense to just launch an attack here and see what happens? We are, the Axis are eligible for a 5th attack, and so we're going to mark that. You don't have to pre-declare them, as I've said. You just do them one at a time. So I will start with trying to keep the dice rolling box in sight, but not totally obscuring the map. I'm going to start with Odessa. So because of halvesies, it's 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8 against 6, because their defense is doubled in defensible terrain. And the Axis, without, well, 1, 5, 10 against 2 because it's disorganized. Yeah, the Axis is going to send this air unit into this attack. So the initial combat happens on the 1-to-1 column, and 2 shifts for the air units being present for ground support. So the combat goes off on the 3-to-1 column, which is, as you can see here, not a fantastic thing for the attacker, but they do have a pretty good chance. I guess, well, it looks like they will absolutely take the city, so that's good. All right, let's see what they do. A 2, all right, that means both sides take 2 hits. So this unit becomes, the Soviets become disorganized and then eliminated. And so they go to the dead pile. And the Axis has to assign 2 units with hits, so those units will become disorganized, and we will, I imagine, just make the weaker of the units disorganized. Well, that's got those 4 movement factors there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to make the Romanians disorganized. And the 11th Infantry will come in and take the city, and that is 1 for the Axis. We're not going to be able to get Sevastopol in this game. So let's move up here to the hard-to-pronounce city, Zaporozhye or something. And so we have, the Axis have 5, 10 coming in. This unit's disorganized, so it doesn't get to use the defensive bonus. So that's a 5-to-1 column attack, and that's almost certainly will be success. And indeed, that's 3 hits to the Soviets and to the defender and none to the attacker. So this unit is also eliminated, and the Germans have to advance at least 1 unit there. And the question now is, are the Germans on the next turn going to look to move down here? And I can't see a reason not to be hoping to do that. So I think we'll just move this infantry down, leave the cavalry with its extra movement to maybe maybe go harass the flank or something. I think that's what cavalry is supposed to do, right? So there's another city conquered. Try to not disturb the units under this thing here. So now we'll go ahead and give Leningrad a try here. Now this is tripled defense because Leningrad's a fortress, so that's 6. The Axis have 9, and 7 is 16, and they will bring in another air unit. So it's 16-6, which is 2-1, and then 3-1, 4-1 because of the air unit. And so, yeah, it looks like we should take Leningrad here, right? Ooh, maybe not. Let's see, 4-1, 4-1. 1-1, we do not take Leningrad. And yeah, if the defender had been, well, there was no forced retreat. So this unit becomes disorganized, and the Axis have to take 1 hit, and I suppose it makes sense to just take that on the weakest of their units. I don't want to disorganize our armor, even though it's up here in the woods. I don't know what it's trying to do for us. And so because this hex cuts supply for Leningrad, I think it makes sense to just make a mad dash in this attack here. So that's does the force double? Yeah, so it's 1-1. That's the 1-1 column, and now it's the 2-1. So I don't think this unit being disorganized does too much harm to the Axis, and they probably will end up being disorganized and possibly reduced. 2-1, a 2. Yes, 2 hits to the attacker and 1 to the defender. So yeah, that's just fine, I guess. Let me find the correct markers for this. So the Finnish unit is disorganized and reduced. You may or may not be able to find, here we go, the other disorganized counter. So that didn't go well, but maybe the Axis will get lucky and now they'll have a big roll up here. So this is the combat that is probably the most important one of the game so far. So 13, 19, 26, 34 against 6. So that's the 5-1 column. And they, as we said, the Axis will send its air unit. The Soviets, did they have an air reaction marker? I just don't know. I'm going to have to look at the other videos, so I'm going to do the first combat as if there was no air reaction marker, and the second combat as if there was not. So okay, so the first combat is 5-1, 7-1, and that's just a massive that's 4, so that unit's eliminated. But now I'm going to imagine that the Soviets were. I'm going to see what happens. So these are the Soviet air unit. That's a 4 and a 4. Those are not hits, I believe, and so there was no hits. But the air support bonus would have been canceled out, and so that would be a 4 on the 5-1 column. Let's see what happens there. Same exact result. So, no, not quite. Well, yeah, but yes, same result in the end. Okay, so whether I'm right or wrong about the air reaction is irrelevant. This unit is disorganized and then eliminated, and now the Axis have to advance. And so this unit and this unit determine Blitz eligibility, and so the the Axis wants to leave as many units as possible adjacent to those units, and they've set that up quite well here. We'll do that and that, and now these ground units will be able to move up here and be part of the combat at Moscow, and the armor could probably snake around. So we're going to have a pretty massive combat. Oh, I forgot the sort of encirclement bonus there. The Axis had multiple non-adjacent hexes, but that didn't end up mattering because the result was the same. All right, so the Axis have accomplished their objectives, their important objectives in combat here, and now it is the Blitz phase. It's probably too bad I didn't have a blitzing armor unit up here. Then we'd be able to do another attack. This would have been the disorganized unit, and that would almost certainly have been a defeat. But I did not do that, and so lessons learned. All right, I'm going to stop this part of the video for now, get myself organized for the Blitz. So the Blitz phase, any Blitz eligible units, if the phasing player has purchased the offensive kit, may conduct another ground movement and then combat phase. And the Axis have, and as I said previously, all of these units here are eligible. I rebased this air unit here, so it is also eligible. Did a little rebasing up here, and this unit I sent, the Finnish unit I sent here instead. I'm not sure why, maybe, yeah, for no real particular reason, I just did. And then another air unit came up, and Zaporozhye, or whatever that is, took that for the 4th turn. But this is the 3rd turn, and the Axis are going to do a move. So there's no zone of control here right now, so that's 1, 2, 3, 1. I wonder if it matters if, well, right, so let me do that and leave those where they are. I wonder, is there anything, so you're going to do everything they can to reinforce Moscow, but given their limitations, it won't be much. I should have a pretty devastating attack against them. So the question is, can this armor unit float down here and do something helpful? There are a couple things I think that it could do that would be helpful. It could potentially garrison Kharkov, because the Soviets will easily be able to retake that if they want. If this were the long campaign game, I think I would have to be worrying about oncoming Soviet reinforcements splitting me down here. And so I wondered. But in any case, I think it makes sense to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Trying to cut off some potential enemy supply routes that way. And but I also want to make sure that that unit doesn't get cut off. So this would normally be 1, 2, 3, and then a 4th for, no, 2 for Zach. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 for this unit. So that's 8, 13, 19, 25, 30 so far against, that looks like it'll be 9. That's a fortress, right? 30 against 9, so that's 3 to 1. 38 against 9. If I could do the math in my head, that would be 4 to 1. Yeah, so well, yeah, so this, and then putting the army in here, we'll just bump it up to 5 to 1 at the beginning of the combat. So we should clearly do that, since we don't have the long-term ramifications of leaving this entire area clear. So there we go. There is the, movement part. And now we will do the combat. So 11, 19, 26, 32, 37, 45 to 9, 3 times 3. Was that air unit in the hex? Yeah, I think I messed that up. I think that air unit was in the hex. Nothing would be different from that past combat as I demonstrated, but it negates the concern about was there an air reaction. Okay, so we're at the 5-to-1, and we have the air battle. So the big one is the Soviets, the two shiny ones are the Axis, and the Axis scores a hit and kills this air unit, and the Soviets do not score a hit. Let's see what it would have been if I was wrong. Yeah, they would have scored a hit if I was wrong and had an air reaction, but I think I need to play it straight. So now it's 5-to-1, 7-to-1 for the chance to capture Moscow, which would make me a better general than Rommel or Guderian and Kleist, although I had fewer confusing orders from headquarters, shall we say. So 45 to 9, 9 times 5 is 45. So that's 5-to-1, 7-to-1 for the air unit. And oh, right, over 7-to-1 because of the non-adjacent, the surrounded bonus, basically, the encirclement. So 4, so anything over 5-to-1 is just a utter destruction. So there we go. So the Axis managed to concentrate their forces effectively and capture Moscow, and we have to decide how we will occupy Moscow now. I think it makes sense to occupy Moscow with those 2 infantry units. That leaves the armor free to get out into the open terrain there, and that armor probably should have stayed there, but it's too late now. And so, yeah, there we go. And so the Axis have done a lot of damage. And I'm now going to have to make sure I understand the operational victory conditions, because the Axis will not win a sudden death victory here under any circumstances. And so I'm going to have to figure out what they have to do to win. The Soviets also have the Katyusha card that they can apply to a combat next turn. So maybe they'll be able to retake some ground, but it doesn't look good, does it?